Talking with Richard Attenborough and Charles Bronson. We have one of those awkward little short segments here, and then we'll meet your wife. It's interesting. I have a feeling you're a man of great contradictions, because I know you paint, which is a fairly placid activity, I suppose, compared to some of the things.
Placid? Not for me, Christ.
Huh?
No.
But I meant by that the difference between that and things that you always read about. You're picking up a director and shaking him by the neck and things like that are more active.
Yeah, I know. There are a lot of stories like that, and most of them are not true. I mean, I've got stories where I punched horses in the mouth and all that sort of thing.
What sort of man would want to punch a horse in the mouth?
I have shaken one director, and that was a man in Paris. But he happened to be a Swiss.
Oh, well, then.
And the Swiss are... Swiss directors, anyhow, a little thick. Just a little thick. And I think anybody would try to shake them, you know.
I've never heard anyone make an anti-Swiss remark in my life.
I have problems with him.
I discovered a prejudice I didn't know existed. I guess it's because the Swiss are neutral. You don't expect them to be attacked by...
Yeah, I used to like Richard when he was an actor, but now that he's a director, I don't know.
He's in a whole new light now. What had the poor Swiss gentleman done to you?
He just ruined the entire picture. I mean, you know, there's a time element and money element involved. When a director takes so much time trying to push something that's, I think, is stupid, the interpretation of a script, and you stand there and you argue with him and you show them all the ways that it should be done rather than the way he wants to do it, and still he can't understand it, only because he's got it laid out his way. That's being thick.
Was the movie finished by the time you shook him, or...?
The movie was on its last day when I grabbed him.
All right. Well, if the man was so thick, why did it take you so long to notice it?
I knew it from the beginning, but this is why, you know, by the time the picture was...
and patience and all that.
Yeah.
The famous Bronson patience lasted one day too short.
Yeah, I just used my cool, and it became all used up by the last day.
Yeah. How long will you let people bug you before you actually go after them?
I'm not violent.
No.
No, I used to be, but not now.
Since
I met my wife, I've become so peaceful. You wouldn't believe it, yeah.
I was just wondering how many... See, the show has 30 minutes more to go, and I was wondering how long you... In case I was irritating you, I wondered... just trying to get an estimate. We'll meet her. She sounds like a remarkable woman. We have a message, and we'll be right back. Charles Bronson, the gentle soul he is today. Mrs. Charles Bronson is her name. She's an actress and a person in her own right. Jill Ireland. You're welcome, Richard. How are you?
I'm fine.
Did you kiss him out of your own free will, or... I can't help asking, because I heard him say, be sure and kiss me when you come out here.
He's been sitting here telling you terrible stories.
Has he?
Yes, about how calm he is and how the stories about him aren't true.
Whereas, in fact...
They are true.
What, that I punched a horse?
No, you didn't do that, but you did do some of the other things.
Did he or...
He's not quite the calm, peace-loving person
I suspected this, but I didn't
No,
know...
actually, he's on very good behavior tonight.
He's being very nice tonight?
He's being very nice.
Gee. He apparently was quite offended at the invitation of Norman Mailer that night because it was so wrong.
He just said, that's not right. He said, that's not the way he walks at all.
He's right. Now that I see him do it, I retired from impersonating walks forever.
Well.
You do a remarkable American accent when you want to, on the screen. Does that come naturally? How do you do that?
Well, no, it doesn't really. I did do a TV series where I played an American. But I did this movie, Valachi Papers, and there was an English director. So once in a while I was wrong, you know, so then they got the film over and I looped one or two places, so now it's all correct, I think.
You mean you had to correct the sound of a certain word or two?
Yes, I had to correct one or two speeches. I got a voice coach, and after the film was finished, I got a voice coach, and then I think it's pretty good now. I hope.
Where did you meet this peculiar gentleman?
Oh.
Same picture I met him.
I met him in Germany. They were doing that film together.
Instead of me, I don't understand it.
I was after your wife.
I understand that. Forgive us.
You met on The Great Escape?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Where were those German scenes shot?
They were in Bavaria.
Were you present when he shook the Swiss gentleman by the neck?
Oh, God. I'm surprised he didn't do it before. He was.
She felt like
Dick.
shaking him, too.
I don't usually get angry, but I found myself screaming and hollering on the set one day, and then I said to Charlie, I think this director, I think he's a bit thick.
Thick?
Yeah, he was. He even said he had a head like wood.
And
Charlie just grabbed him by the throat and gave him a good shake. I think it helped him a lot.
did it... How did it improve his work on the closing
director?
day?
That was it. That was the
Actually,
end.
it calmed him down. This man was so funny. One day he jumped off a thing and hit his head on a bar going across. You know, he just was one of those people. He didn't know where he was.
You know, I'll tell you, the name of the picture was... It was about an amnesiac who was being used by a psychiatrist to kill his wife. Jill played the psychiatrist's wife, played by Tony Perkins. And that was the man he found on the beach who was wandering around with amnesia, you see. And he convinced me that I was him. That was that kind of a story.
It was a
And it was a beautiful, very sensitive story. Now, this man, the Swiss director, was chasing us all over Europe to do.
Yeah.
And finally, I found we had 2 months just before Christmas, about 2 years ago. And okay, I said, we'll do it. We have 2 months. We can do it in 8 weeks' time and get back for Christmas with the children and everything. It would be very nice. And the way he persuaded me, he would come down. We were living in Nice then. He'd come down, he'd be playing the piano, beautiful music and all that. And I thought, geez, there's a man who's got a sensitive soul and all that sort of thing. And he's just right for this script, and I'll do the picture for that reason, you know. Until we got involved with the picture. And I found out he was, not only he had a thick head, but a thick soul. I mean, he just didn't know. He didn't know what the hell it was all about. He didn't know.
And you believe the thick should be seized by the neck and shaken, do you?
Thick Swiss.
Charlie.
We'll have to put
He
the entire
doesn't
Swiss
mean
embassy
that.
on
He
now.
just says that.
Well, it's not uncommon for people to think that the Swiss the bankers, the only ones that are not, you
The
know.
bankers are not. Yes.
But most Swiss are thick. I mean, most that I have met, anyhow, I mean, they're pretty thick.
He's been sore ever since he lost the role of Archie Bunker to...
Right.
This is a strange experience. Does your husband cause you gray hairs ever?
No, not anymore. I've decided anything he says, I'm not saying. He's saying it, you know. And sometimes I agree with him.
She ignores me. She thinks I'm one of the children.
Oh, I don't, Charlie. No, I don't.
You,
I just have learnt, you know, to sort of sit there and sit through some of his episodes, which I can't really tell you, because you'd have to bleep me out. But I've decided the best thing to do is just sit quite calm and still and wait till it's over.
We're willing to bleep you out if you want to. If you think
I
we have
couldn't.
to, if you think it would help in any
Do you
way.
remember that time you stood up on the back of the chair when they asked you to lift somebody?
This is in the picture called Rider on the Rain.
The director
Rene
said to him,
Clement was
yes,
the director, and he's very good, very good.
they said to him, would you mind picking this lady
Not
up off
Swiss.
the floor? And he said, I can't do that. He said, you do it. And the director said, but you're strong, you do it. He said, I can't do that. And he jumped up on the back of the couch and grabbed himself in a private place and said, if I do this, this will happen, this will be bad for me. And so
I see.
it was rather a dramatic moment.
That wasn't the director, it was the writer. And anyhow, the actress, she was in a very awkward position to be picked up. She was almost like this.
Yeah.
To pick her up was like picking up a stone, you know, even though she might have weighed only 120 pounds. But to pick her up like that, it was no room. There was a couch here and a table there, and she was in between the two like that.
And expected you to reach down and...
Yes, he wanted him to
Yes.
lift him up like this, her up like this. Because he's
And so you...
So the writer was off camera, and he says, but it's that way in the script. You have to pick her up. I said, why can't I just roll her on the couch, you know? But it's in the script. You have to pick her up, you see. It says it. I said, the hell with your script. I said, you pick her up. I said, if I pick her up, you know, and I grab myself by the crotch, I
It
say...
was a lovely moment, Harry. It was a lovely moment.
It was one of those things.
It was one of those things. That was a lovely scene, Richard, we saw. That was a lovely scene we saw. It was beautiful.
Thank you also for trying to
Still
help
wanna do
change
that
the
picture
subject.
Yes.
No, I think we're old enough to know a man can pantomime herniating without offending
Oh,
everyone.
well, yes.
Yes. I think
Yes,
that's true.
Yes.
Yep.
And it wasn't the director that insisted, because he was a sensitive man. Rene Clement, you know, is a very good
Yeah.
international kind of...
You wouldn't go for his throat.
No.
Only for your,
Well, I wouldn't go
No, he
for...
was a nice
yeah,
man.
only for your Swiss director
I
friend.
really didn't grab him by the throat.
Oh, yes,
It's
you
only
did,
by the
Charlie.
lapels.
You did. You did. Yes.
And he had a sweater on anyhow. When I grabbed him, it stretched about that far. So it didn't really hurt
I
him.
think there's material for another whole movie in this.